Welcome to the Parent Training Module, What is a Waiver? Presented by the ARC of Cumberland and Perry Counties Education and Advocacy Committee. For the last 21 years, your child has been entitled to a free, appropriate public education, or FAPE. These services are guaranteed and protected by state and federal laws. When your child exits the school system at age 21, the adult services they need are no longer an entitlement. They are a service system based on 3 criteria: eligibility, availability, and funding. This brings us to the question, what is a waiver? In short, the waiver provides the funding piece for the adult services that your family member needs. The term waiver is used to refer to the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Waiver Program, which provides funding for supports and services for individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. The waiver pays for your family member to live in their home and community rather than in an institutional setting. Now that you understand that the waiver provides the funding for adult services, the next step is to consider which waiver will meet the needs of your family member. There are several different types of waivers that support individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. This slide provides a very brief overview of the different types of waivers. It is very important that you work with your supports coordinator to understand the differences between each type of waiver in order to meet the needs of your family. All adult programs and services require payment. The services listed on this slide are just a small example of services that can be funded through a waiver. If you were to choose to privately pay for your family members' supports and services, this slide gives examples of the costs for those services. For most families, these costs would be unaffordable over the lifetime of their family member. Let's take a moment to recap the information you have learned so far. A waiver provides the funding for adult services. There are several different types of waivers, and you should work with your supports coordinator to find out which waiver will support your family member's needs. Most families need a waiver to pay for supports and services over the lifetime of their family member. The next question you are probably wondering is, how do I get a waiver? The first step to getting a waiver is to be enrolled with the County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Office and have a supports coordinator assigned to you. Each fiscal year, the county will develop a plan for the needed services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They will submit the plan to the state of Pennsylvania for funding. This is why it is important to have an open case with the county. To be a part of your county IDD office's plan, you must have an open case with them. The number of funded waivers given to the county each year varies, which means not all families seeking a waiver will receive one. If your family member does not receive a waiver, your first step should be to work with your supports coordinator to see what options you may have. The options available will depend on the needs of your family member. For instance, job coaching or job placement is available through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. This concludes the parent training, What is a Waiver? For further information, please contact the ARC of Cumberland and Perry Counties Family Education and Advocacy Department at the contact information listed below.